Hey everyone, welcome back to another PNSO review. Today we're taking a look at A-Shu, the Qianzhousaurus. You guys getting tired of these PNSO reviews? I'm not. I'm loving everything they're doing, even though they are slowly killing my wallet. So I was very excited that PNSO announced their Qianzhousaurus. This is the second Qianzhousaurus that we've gotten this year, so that's pretty exciting. This long-snouted terror retails for between $35 and $40, and I'll leave a link to Dan's Dinosaurs in the description if you want to pick up this figure for yourself. And remember, if you order anything from Dan's, tell him you heard about him from Dino Scream. It helps out the channel a lot, and it's greatly appreciated. So before we take a closer look at this Qianzhousaurus, let's take a look at the packaging. Comes in the prehistoric animal models packaging that we've been seeing for the last couple of years. Got a nice picture of the Qianzhousaurus on the front, and it also shows that this figure does have an articulated jaw. Turn the box over, get a close-up of the Qianzhousaurus face, and then just like every other PNSO model, you get a little pamphlet with some information about the Qianzhousaurus. It's just really a kiddie story, no real information about the dinosaur, but you do get an accessory inside this. You do get a clear acrylic stand, which will help with stability with this figure. As you can see, this figure stands fine on its own, but it's nice that PNSO was including this just in case the legs on this figure warp. I display my PNSO figures on a pretty high shelf, so I do appreciate this added security. So enough about the packaging and stand, let's take a closer look at A-Shu. Alright, let's start with a nice 360-degree view of the Qianzhousaurus. This is a beautiful figure. I love how this figure turned out. It's a little bit more expensive than most of the figures in the prehistoric animal models line, but this figure has the quality of the museum line that is making a return with their Winter Wilson that should be here shortly. But this figure is really well done. It's sculpted in mid-stride. You can see that hind foot just lifted off the ground to take another step forward. The head is turned to the side. You can clearly see that articulated jaw. They did a fantastic job on this figure. The main body coloration is almost this like greenish blue color. It's very light. There's some white mixed in there, and then it's covered all these beautiful brown splotches. You have a little bit of orange for the top of the skull and the snout, and the teeth are sculpted beautifully, nice and sharp. All around a beautiful looking figure. So let's do a couple quick measurements on this Qianzhousaurus. This figure, if you measure along the curve of the body, is about 10 1/4 inches tall and about 3.5 inches tall to the top of the head. So Qianzhousaurus is estimated to be around 21 feet long. So I'll put this figure somewhere in the 125 scale range. Alright, let's zoom in and take a closer look at Mr. Qianzhou, starting with that beautiful head sculpt. You can see the eyes painted in yellow with a black pupil. Got a little bit of gloss coat on there to give it that wet look. You can see the ear canal sculpted in, and you will notice that this figure is sculpted without lips. Everyone kind of gets up in arms when theropod dinosaurs aren't sculpted with lips, but there is a reason for it. The artist that did the Winter Wilson talked about why he did not give that figure or the Tyrannosaur figure's lips. His interpretation is the maxilla, those are the teeth-bearing bones of the upper jaw. The way the bones hug the teeth, it's very similar to crocodiles, and that's why he believes that they did not have lips. So it's nice that we have a little bit of insight of why a design choice was made. For me personally, it doesn't bother me that they don't have lips sculpted in. I actually kind of quite like this look. So anyways, you can see a lot of beautiful scale detail above the teeth. And like I said, this figure does have an articulated jaw, and it can open up pretty wide. You get some nice detail along the gums. The tongue has a nice gloss coat on it with a nice wash over it to bring out all that nice detail. The teeth are nice and sharp feeling. They're all painted really, really well. No sloppy paint on the teeth. You can see the little row of horns on the snout. You can see the crest just before the eyes has a little bit of a gloss coat to give that keratin looking sheath. So yeah, really, really nice head sculpt on here. You can see the nostrils sculpted in. And then going down to the body, a lot of beautiful scale detail on this figure. There's some large scales here and there picked out, and has a very nice texture to it. I love the tactile feel of some of these figures. The forearms are sculpted in really nice. You can see the two claws on the fingers are nice and sharp, and the arms are a little bit flexible, so you have to worry about them snapping off. You can see that like greenish color for the main body mixed in with that white, and I love all this brown striping on this figure. It looks really, really great. And then going down to the hind legs, you can see they are beautifully sculpted. A lot of muscle detail on there. Some nice folds and wrinkles along the thighs and along the knee. Going down to the front feet, a lot of nice scale detail. The toe claws are painted a little bit white color, and then turn the figure over. You can see there's a little bit of like a pinkish color along the throat and on the chest, and right near the thigh. Another nice fold and wrinkles sculpted in along the side over here. And the tail is really well sculpted. A lot of beautiful scale detail all the way down to the tip of the tail. And this figure is just fantastic looking. I really, really am enjoying this figure much more than I thought I would when I first saw the promotional images. All right, let's move on with some comparisons. First up is the Safari Limited Qianzhousaurus, which came out earlier in 2020. You can see a huge difference between these two figures, namely that the Safari one has lips sculpted in, and Doug Watson was the sculptor on this figure, and he actually commented on the Dinosaur Toy Forum. His reason for giving this figure lips, if you look at the skull of a monitor, the teeth are very large and sticking out. But if you actually look at the animal in real life, those teeth are pretty much covered up by soft tissue and gums. You really don't, feel the teeth until it sinks into your flesh. So that is his interpretation on it. So it's pretty cool to display these two figures next to each other, same species of the dinosaur, two artist interpretations. And next up is a toy from a company that you never see me using to compare with PNSO. Here is the Mattel Jurassic World Allisaurus, another long-snouted tyrannosaur. So it's nice that we have a couple versions of these weird tyrannosaur species on the market. And next up is the PNSO Spinosaurus. It was a very light theropod year for PNSO, but now we're up to 4 theropods released so far. So it's nice that our, meat eaters are kind of catching up to all the herbivores that were released earlier in the line. And next up is the PNSO Corythosaurus. Now, both these figures are in that $40 price range. You can see the Corythosaurus is almost twice the size of this Qianzhousaurus. So I guess adding an articulated jaw kind of drives up the cost on figures this size. Even the Spinosaurus is about the same size as costs around that $40 range. And next up is the recently reviewed Maragaya. And lastly, here it is with their old Wilson TRex. Hopefully I'll have the new one in a week or so, and I can officially retire this one off my shelf. You can see how this Wilson just towers over this Qianzhousaurus. So, final thoughts on this Qianzhousaurus. Another fantastic offering from PNSO. Every time I get their figures in, I'm blown away by just how consistent the quality of these new figures have been. They are really putting other dinosaur companies on notice with the variety and sheer quantity of figures they have been releasing this year, and they are nowhere near done. Like I said a few times in my other PNSO reviews, they plan on releasing figures, I think, through February. The only couple downsides of this figure is, if you're, team lips, this figure is probably going to bother you a little bit. If it doesn't bother you, you're going to love this figure. And the price point of it, $40 for a figure this size. Yeah, it's a little pricey for some of us collectors. But once you get it in hand, the quality, the detail, the sculpt, just the feel of this thing really makes it feel like a premium product. So it's definitely worth that $40 in my eyes. And like I said at the beginning of the review, you can pick this figure up from Dan's Dinosaur. Link is in the description. So that will do it for the review. Just waiting on the Winter Wilson, and I will be ready to do my top 10 dinosaur figures of 2020. And I have a feeling PNSO is going to probably dominate that list. I kind of did a rough draft of it, but a couple figures keep dropping on and off, as I'm getting these PNSO figures because I'm just liking them so much. And as always, if you're enjoying the content of this channel, show your support by hitting that subscription button just below the video. Each subscription helps out the channel tremendously and is greatly appreciated. And I'll see you guys for the next one.